Hey everybody, it's Mr. Eisens here. Actually coming at you today on our snow day. I'm dressed a little warm for the occasion. It's cold out there. I hope you guys are staying safe and warm. But we are starting our new unit. Okay, we are looking at the circulatory system, and so let's get through it. Circulatory is really cool because we're talking about our heart. Okay, circulatory meaning it's going to circle our entire body. The blood that the heart is going to pump is going to go to our entire body. So here we go. Function. Number one thing that you need to know. We are going to transport things. Circulatory system is all about transportation. Okay, all about transportation. We need oxygen so that we can do cellular respiration and therefore survive. Okay, we also need glucose, right? Because these two go together in order to keep us alive. Now, we also have things in the endocrine system called hormones, which are chemical messengers, which we also need. And then we also need to get rid of waste from cells. So basically, our blood cells are going to be traveling to all the cells within our body, delivering fuel and resources that they need or messages in the form of hormones. And they're going to be the garbage men. They're going to pick up all the things that the cells don't need anymore, like carbon dioxide or urea. Okay. Also, the blood within our body and the circulatory system is going to work with the immune system to protect the body against disease-causing pathogens. It makes sense that our immune system or the defense mechanisms, the police, so to speak, in our body are going to need to be in these little highways or these veins that travel throughout the entire body so they can transport around and do what they need to do to keep us safe. All right. So let's take a look at certain structures. Okay, so blood is a liquid organ. Yes, that's right. An organ is is a group of cells that work together, okay, to keep us alive. That transport, okay, it's going to transport nutrients, waste products around the body, throughout the blood. Okay, blood vessels are going to be what the blood is inside of, okay? So that's really important. Network of tubes filled with blood that run through your body. There are tons of these. Okay, there are tons of these. They're absolutely everywhere. Anytime you bleed, it's because one of these blood vessels is popped. Okay, we're going to talk a little more in depth about how big these blood vessels are. Okay, if they're really small, we call them capillaries. If they're bigger, then we're going to call them veins and arteries. Okay, and we're going to go a little bit more in depth into that as well. Okay, so let's keep going. Heart is going to be a four-chambered organ that pumps blood through the blood vessels made of cardiac muscle. Yes, the heart is only a muscle, and it's going to be pumping, very similar to how I got my hand going right now, okay, to get blood to the rest of our body and also to the lungs so that we can actually get that oxygen. All right, the heart is super important, and without it, we don't get oxygen. That way, without it, we don't get blood, which contains oxygen and glucose, which means our cells are going to die very quickly. So if your heart stops, it's a big deal, and you got to get it fixed immediately. Okay, let's keep on going. So this one's really important. I guarantee that we are going to test you on this stuff. So arteries carries blood from the heart to the body. Okay, we like to put it in red because it has a ton of oxygen. Okay, because we have already received that oxygen, because veins, okay, which are in blue, okay, is after the blood has already dropped off all of the contents, whether it be oxygen or glucose, whatever it may be. So blood after it's passed through the capillary system and then is carried back to the heart. So there's no oxygen. That's why we call it blue. Now, is your blood actually blue? No, it's not actually blue. And it just looks blue in your arm, if you can see your veins, okay, because it's darker. Okay, blood that doesn't have oxygen is going to be really dark red, whereas blood that is highly rich in oxygen is going to be bright red. Okay, so if you do get a cut, the reason it is bright red is because it does absorb oxygen very quickly. Okay, because now it's exposed to the oxygen in the air. Okay, so keep that in mind. Okay, arteries and veins are really big. And what I want you to think of with these arteries and veins is veins are going into the heart, whereas arteries are going to be going away. Okay, arteries go away from the heart. Okay, so it goes away to the body, whereas veins are going to be going into the heart. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, capillaries. Capillaries are going to be the connecting piece. So if we got veins right here, and let me find my red, okay, and we got arteries over here, capillaries are going to be in the middle. So they're going to be actually where we're going to drop off these nutrients. You can see we're talking about, let's see if I can find the purple. Okay, connect arteries to veins where oxygen and nutrients actually diffuse or are dropped off, okay, to feed our tissues. So diffuse, we're literally talking about diffusion from previous, you guys have already learned about it. That is going to be just a little review. It's high to low with the flow, right? With the flow. Okay, so that is diffusion. The concept, okay, is we are delivering oxygen, which is, we have a ton of it, and then the cells need oxygen, so they have a little bit of it, and so we're going to get this really nice transfer of oxygen to the cells that need it. All right, so high to low with the flow. So basically, the picture that you should remember is we're going to have blood is going to come in through the artery to where it needs to deliver all the oxygen. And then as soon as it's delivered it and picked up all the waste, it's going to exit and go back to the heart. Okay, so hopefully that didn't confuse you too much. Let's get going. All right, so more things to remember. All right, structures of the blood. So within our blood, what is in it? All right, well, the things that are in it are going to be, number one, we're going to have plasma. Okay, plasma is carries blood cells through the blood vessels, regulate osmotic pressure. This is 90% water. Like this is almost all water, is what plasma is. And then we're going to have red blood cells. So the actual things that carry oxygen and nutrients. Okay, red blood cells. White blood cells are like the bodyguards or the protectors. Okay, they guard against infections. They fight bacteria infections. Okay, they're going to be traveling with the red blood cells to keep them safe, but also to keep the rest of the body safe. They're going to travel to wherever they need to go to keep the body safe. And then lastly, and this one's really, really important, or at least I think really, really cool, is platelets. Okay, so our platelets are going to be these little white things right here, right there. Okay, and they are going to actually be used for a specific thing. So they're going to cause blood clotting, which you would think is really bad, right? But when we're bleeding and we don't want to be bleeding, okay, we need platelets to act, okay? And so they cause blood clots so that injuries may heal and prevent bacteria from entering the body. So let's say there's a cut, okay? Let's say that you sustained an injury. Let's use this, okay? We got a cut and this part of the skin is actually gone, all right? Blood is going to start rushing out of the body. And so that is not good. We do not like that. And so what's going to happen is all these little platelets are going to group up together. Okay, so all these little things, as they rush out with the blood out of the body, they're going to start hitting each other and building up a clot. Basically, it's going to start scabbing up. It's going to stop bleeding because all these platelets are stuck together. All right, and as soon as they sense a chemical that the skin releases when the skin breaks, okay, that's when these things just start to suck up to each other and they create basically a way to block the blood from leaving the body. So they're really, really cool. They're gonna prevent clots to stop your bleeding. All right, let's erase this and let's keep on moving. So you are gonna need to know the pathway through the heart. All right, we're gonna have two different types of pathways. Okay, one in blue. Okay, because we have deoxygenated blood. Okay, that means D meaning no oxygen. Okay, no oxygen. Whereas systemic circulation is going to have plenty of oxygen. Lots of O2. Okay, we have two parts of our heart. Okay, so whichever way you're facing, you can raise your right hand. You can see in my video, it looks like it's my left hand, but this is actually my right hand because of the mirroring effect of the video. Okay, but the right side of your heart, okay, so this would be my right side of my heart. We got to be really specific what we're talking about. That is going to be the one that is sending blood to the lungs. Okay, so pulmonary is just a cool word for lungs. Okay, whereas when we have a lot of oxygen, we need to get it to the rest of the body. Okay, the lungs' job is to give us oxygen, and once we have that oxygen, the blood. So the heart sends it to the lungs, and then it's going to send it back, okay, to the heart, where it's going to go to the rest of our body. Okay, the rest of our body systems need this oxygen, and so that's where we finally get our oxygen that is going to go to the rest of our body. Okay, it's rich in oxygen. That's our left side. All right, so keep that in mind. The blood is going to come back from our arteries. All right, it's going to be not have a lot of oxygen. We need to send it to the lungs to receive oxygen. It's going to come back to the heart, and then we're going to send it to the rest of the body. And then we're going to repeat this whole process again. All right, let's keep going. All right, how the heart works, pulmonary function. Okay, pulmonary circulation. So pulmonary means lungs. Okay, pulmonary means lungs. Okay, you should write that down. Okay, it transports oxygen poor to the lungs so that it can get oxygen rich. And once it's oxygen rich, then it goes back to the heart. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Blood travels from the right side of the heart to the lungs. Blood picks up oxygen and then releases CO2 in the lungs. So we drop that waste off, and then O2 rich blood returns to the left side of the heart. Okay, so what does this look like? Basically, we're going to be receiving blood from the rest of the body right here. It's going to go down into the actual pump part. This bottom part is actually going to squeeze together and then launch this blood this way and that way to go to the lungs. Okay, you can see it goes behind this aorta. Okay, this top part. All right, and once it goes to the lungs, because we have a right and left lung, okay, it's going to be oxygen rich. So I'm changing my color back to red or pink. It's going to come back right there. There's another one that actually wraps around through the back. And now we're ready to send it out to the rest of the body. Okay, because now it has oxygen. We're going to be labeling some figures as we go here. So this is what you need to know. Okay, systemic. Okay, so after we get that oxygen, that blood that's rich in oxygen from the lungs, now this left side of the heart is going to send it out to the body. Okay, it's going to go absolutely everywhere in the body, to the brain, to your legs, to your hands. Okay, and some oxygen or some of the blood is going to have capillaries that deliver oxygen to the heart as well. Okay, but when it gets to tissue that needs oxygen, which is everywhere in your body, okay, we have, so this is an artery because it's going away, okay, from your body, okay, away from your heart, excuse me. Once we get to the capillaries, that's when we actually drop off the oxygen. Okay, now we don't have any oxygen. So that now, as we make our way back to the heart, okay, we don't have oxygen. We've picked up all the waste, and now we're just going to get rid of that CO2 and pick up more oxygen. Okay, pulmonary circulation goes to the lungs. That's the blue going to the lungs right here. Boom, as it goes to the lungs, there's going to be capillaries again, and they're going to pick up oxygen. So we go from blue back to our red, and then it'll come back to the heart, and then we'll start our whole process over again. All right? You guys are doing great. Let's keep going. So you do want to remember the pathway through the heart. I'm going to draw it for you right now. But basically, and I'll try to draw it with the correct oxygenation of the blood. Okay, so 1 and 2 is the vena cava. Okay, the vena cava is going to be getting deoxygenized blood from the lower part of your body, below your heart, and from above your heart. Okay, they're all going to go into this first chamber of the heart. We're going to call it the right atrium. Okay, the right atrium, number 3. Okay, the right atrium is going to come out of this chamber and go to our next one, where it's actually going to be pumped somewhere. Okay, so don't worry about 4. We're not going to talk about, these are all valves, so they let things in just to make sure you don't have blood flowing all over the place. Okay, the heart needs to be in sync. Okay, but we're going to go atrium. Remember, atrium is where things enter. Like the first room in a building is usually called the atrium. Okay, it's like an entryway. Okay, so the entryway, the atrium, because we're going to see the left atrium as well. Okay, once you get to the atrium, you're going to go to the ventricle where all the magic happens. Okay, the ventricle is sweet because this is where we actually have a lot of buildup of muscle, as you can see in the bottom part. And this is where we're actually going to be squeezing, okay, squeezing the muscle to shoot that blood up. Okay, shoot that blood up, and then it's going to travel out of the heart. And you can see it goes behind here and out here. Okay, so it's going to be traveling out of, so everything I drew in blue, okay, we call these the pulmonary arteries because arteries go away from the heart because they're going away from the heart. And we call them pulmonary because we're talking about lungs. Okay, so now we go to the lungs. Okay, lungs. Okay, lungs get the blood. And in those capillaries, we're actually going to see the blood is going to receive oxygen and then it's going to come back. Okay, so it's going to come back through the, remember, this would be our right lung. Okay, but there's lungs over here too. Okay, and they're going to come back through the pulmonary, not artery because arteries go away, but the pulmonary vein because it goes into the heart. Okay, pulmonary means lungs again. Okay, lungs. And they go in. Okay, so the pulmonary vein. Let's draw this lungs. Okay, we get the transfer. Okay, and now that we have oxygen, we can go over the systemic part. So once again, this whole top part is going to be the pulmonary circulation, whereas the bottom part that I'm going to highlight in red, this is actually going to be our systemic circulation. Okay, because now that we have the oxygen, so we get our blood from the lungs. It has a ton of oxygen in it. Okay, and it's going to flow in. These little guys flow all the way into number 9. Okay, so we get blood from here. We get blood from here. Okay, again, this is the first entryway in the systemic circulation. So that means it has to be an atrium. And the left side of the heart has the oxygenized blood. Okay, so this is the entryway. Okay, then we're going to go to the spot where the blood is actually going to get pumped out. So this is like being prepared to send it off, the ventricle. Okay, number 11. It gets pumped behind, because this is a 3D model, right? Behind the, this is the pulmonary artery, okay? Or this is heading from the other ventricle to the pulmonary artery. But this is going to be sent to 13. Okay, so 13 is actually going to be, we have a cool word for it because it's the biggest artery. Artery, remember, is going to be pumping blood away. But this is the biggest artery in the body. All right, biggest artery in the body. We call it the aorta. And you can see this thing is huge because it's got blood pumping out here. We got blood pumping out here. We got blood going here. And that's because it has to go literally everywhere, guys. It has to go to our head. It has to go to our lower body. It's got to go to our arms. It's got to go literally everywhere. So this thing's got to be massive. And it just launches that blood wherever you're going to need it. All right. So pause the video and rewind it if you need extra help with the pathway of the blood. But we can also watch this little video and you can see where we're coming in the vena cava, we're going to the atrium, we're going to the ventricle, then we're going to the lungs. Now we're coming back. We're in the atrium, which is the entryway, the ventricle, and then we get pumped out the aorta to the rest of the body. So let's just look at that one more time. Hopefully, I was hoping it would play one more time. Oh, well, you can watch it again. Okay, some of the diseases that you want to know about. Okay, leukemia is when we have abnormal white blood cells. Okay, whereas hemophilia is an inherited disease, which means that your clotting factors don't work, which means you bleed for long periods of time. So a small bleed can actually lead to your death because you'll bleed out, and so you bruise very easily with hemophilia as well. So just keep that in mind. So the clotting factors that would involve your platelets aren't working correctly. All right, everybody. That's all I got for today. Hopefully you learned a bunch, and I'll see you later. Stay safe.